I did not know how sex worked until I was having it.
Oh, wow.
That was never a conversation you had with your parents or any adult before?
No, I was watching 16 and Pregnant, and I was like, maybe if I tell my story, that part would like really prevent other girls from putting themselves in situations where they could become pregnant.
When you were younger, did you ever think, one day I want to have 7? Was that
No,
ever
I
an
wanted
idea?
0. I did not want any children. I've had every single birth imaginable. I've had epidural, no epidural, home birth, hospital birth, medicated, unmedicated, a C-section.
You're like, I can tell you.
I've had all
Wait,
of that.
yeah, give us the tea.
I had my tubes cut out, and we both felt immediate regret.
Oh, no.
And they even said that on like the side effects. It's in the list. It's like, you may have regret.
We sat down with Kailyn Lowry from the hit TV show 16 and Pregnant and Teen Mom 2. For Kailyn, growing up was by no means easy. Her mom was an alcoholic, and Kailyn's boyfriend's parents took custody of her when she first became pregnant at 16. Now, after giving birth to 7 children, she's navigated everything from co-parenting to infertility. We talk about why she can't move out of the state of Delaware, if she'll get married, and so much more, all on today's episode.
This episode of Unplanned Podcast is brought to you by Huggies Skin Essentials.
Baby butts rejoice! New Huggies Skin Essentials are here.
A brand new line of dermatologist-approved diapers, wipes, and pull-ups training pants, all designed with babies' sensitive skin in mind.
What's up, dudes? And welcome back to the Unplanned Podcast. We're with Kailyn Lowry. Can we just give it up?
Oh, yeah.
Can we just give it up?
Can I clap for myself?
Yeah,
Yes.
clap for yourself.
As you should.
Honestly, you need to clap for yourself because you are a mom to 7 kids.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that. That is.
I don't know either. I just do it. You know what I mean? You just go with the flow. You thrive in the chaos, and you know what I mean? Yeah. What else
That's
can you do?
incredible. Wait, so what are their ages?
So we have Isaac is 14, Lincoln is 10, Lux is 7, Creed is 4, Rio is 1, and the twins are 9 months.
Oh my God.
You have 9-month-old twins. You look amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You look very rested,
I
actually.
actually just scheduled an appointment with one of the plastic surgeons.
Oh, gosh.
I was
Really?
like, hold on, I need a mommy makeover real quick.
Oh.
But then he canceled or wanted to reschedule, and then I couldn't because I'm only here for this and that. So then I was like, all right, we'll just
Oh,
try
so it was
No
here.
way.
Yeah, it
Someone
was here
here
in
in
Scottsdale.
Arizona. Oh,
wow.
no way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But then it didn't work out. But it's fine because I'm here. So
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
is-
crazy.
How are you doing?
I don't know. We just do it. You know what I mean? Like, I think because I'm used to chaos my whole life that I just was kind of thriving in it, that I just perpetuated the chaos, truthfully. So,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
You're balancing all that and your career and
And while you're here right now, who's with the kids while you're in Arizona?
Elisha.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
so he has them. So the older ones will go with their dad.
Okay.
And then my younger 3 are with him, so he has them. It's not traditional for sure, and probably not ideal for a lot of people, but I just know the schedule is like the back of my hand, so I make it work somehow.
Did you, like, when you were younger, did you ever think, man, one day I want to have 7? Like, was that
No, I
ever an
wanted
idea?
0.
Oh, you wanted 0?
Yeah, I didn't want any children.
Actually.
I did not want any children. I was like, I'm not built for motherhood. I don't know how to talk to children. Like, even now, I have a really hard time talking to other people's kids because, like, I'm like, can I talk to them like adults? Because I talk to my own kids like an adult. Like, I'm like, this is the schedule. This is what we're doing. I kind of like talk to them like we're here. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so when I talk to my friends' kids, I'm like, am I being mean? But like, I'm not trying to be mean. I just don't know how to talk to them.
yeah.
So I never wanted
This
children.
is just business.
That's so funny. That's how, so Abby's mom talks to our kids like they're older than they are. And I
Yeah.
think that's so good because I feel like it just brings them up to this new level where they have to mature and they have to, like, our son talks so much and he's only 2.
Yeah.
You know?
But I still want them to have a childhood, right?
Yes,
So like I still want to
yes.
do like the fun stuff, but I talk to them like it's not for everybody, and I get that. But I don't do like the baby talk. So
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
fine for those that do, but I think I just wasn't good with kids before I had them. So this is what I know. You know
At
what I
what
mean?
point did it switch for you? You were
When I got pregnant as a teenager, I was like, oh, I guess here we go. And then once I had 1, I was like, I grew up an only child. So I was like, I can't just have him as an only child because I hated it. So I
Really?
was like, oh, so I guess this is what we're doing.
so I
And
guess
then-
we're having 6 more.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think that was ever the plan, but I was like, all right, here we go. And I love it though. Like, I love it so much. I was just telling Kristen before we came in here, I was like, literally can't picture my life any other way at all.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, I love it. It's so fun.
It's kind of cool how life works that way where, like, maybe something didn't go according to the plan you had, but then you end up loving it anyway.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
that's literally why we call this the Unplanned Podcast. I mean, we had an unplanned pregnancy and now it's the best. Like,
Yeah.
our boys are so close and just seeing them play together every day melts my heart.
Oh,
It's the
It's
best.
like it's like you're saying. It's like it was always meant to be that way. We just didn't know it. you know?
Exactly. It's always meant to be this way. And
Yeah.
and truthfully, if I didn't get my tubes cut out this last time, I probably would have had another one, if I'm being honest. So
You're like, I would have just kept going.
just keep going at this point. But
That's-
I don't love the whole like older ones raise the younger ones thing. And so we have it set up right now where it's like I don't really ask the older kids for help at all because I want them to all have their childhood, and I want them to express interest on their own to like have connections with their siblings and stuff. But as long as we could do it ourselves as parents, I would have had another one. But
Getting pregnant at such a young age, did you feel like the public school system failed you as far as like sex education?
I think parenting was failed a
Okay.
little bit. And then also, I did take, I think it was like 6th grade. There was like the health class where it was like sex ed.
Yeah.
But I don't remember them ever touching on pregnancy. I only remember the STD part.
Really?
So I don't think that like pregnancy was ever something that I was like thought could happen. You think you're invincible, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I only remember the STD part. And I think it was like 1 week of that.
So did you not know like how pregnancy happened?
Truthfully, I did not know how sex worked until I was having it.
Oh wow.
Like the
No
time I had
way.
it. Yeah. I had no idea. And I really only did it because I had a girlfriend that was like doing all kinds of things. And I felt like, oh my God, like I'm behind. Like, should I be doing this? And so it was very yikes.
And that was never a conversation you had with your parents or
No, never.
any adult before?
No.
Really?
Never. Like I truly did not know what it was until I was physically doing it for the first time.
That's crazy.
It's so interesting hearing that because like Abby and I, we both, we love our parents. We're fortunate to have good relationships with our parents. And what's interesting is like my parents, we had the talk when I was a kid. Like
Really?
we had the talk. I understood how all that works. But like Abby ended up learning from her friends. And it's just like, it definitely influences the way it's like, okay, how do I want to teach my kids about this? Because I don't want them to end up in a situation where they're 16 and pregnant, because that's not ideal for any 16-year-old, right?
100%. I don't even know. My mom, I remember I was dating this guy in like 9th grade. His mom called my mom to see if I could sleep over on a school night, mind you. And my mom was like, oh yeah, she's on birth control, which I wasn't. And I went and slept at my boyfriend's house. And it was just like,
That's when you were 16?
I think 9th grade, I must have been 14.
Wait, the boyfriend's mom called your mom to get permission?
Mm-hmm.
And your mom's like, yeah.
And my mom's like, yeah.
And she even like acknowledged the fact that would be happening by saying that you were on birth control.
Yeah.
That is so
Yeah.
wild.
And my mom waved to me out the door and they picked me up and I went to their house and I slept over.
Wow.
And your mom had no conversation with you?
No.
Didn't like walk
No.
you through, hey, if this happens, do this.
No.
This is okay. This isn't okay.
Mm-mm.
Do you have conversations like that with your 14? Like, how does that look different now that you're the mom?
I think that it gets a little controversial with me and like my parenting with like my fan base and my followers, because I think I am so open with my kids and I always want them to think they can come to me and know that they can come to me about anything. And so I talk to my 14-year-old about it all the time. Like, he tells me, he comes home from school and he'll tell me stuff that like his friends say or what they're doing and things like that. And I gently like kind of talk to him about it without him really realizing that I'm like kind of lecturing him. You know what I mean? Like I do it in like a dialogue so he can ask me questions, but I'm also kind of like planting the seeds, you know what I mean? He thankfully has not shown or expressed any interest in that, and neither has my 10-year-old, like just not interested in girls or anything like that. So I'm like, okay, I think that it's okay and we're gonna be fine, but it is really scary to think about like kids I was his age when I was having sex. You know what I mean? Like I can't imagine. He's mature in so many ways, but also so immature that I can't even imagine my 14-year-old having sex.
Do you think you were more mature at that age?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, you're like,
Absolutely not. I think that in some ways my mom was an alcoholic and I only met my dad when I was 17, I think. So I think that I was mature in some ways, but not in like a sexual respect. And like, I didn't know what was going on with my body. I didn't even know what my period was when I got it. Like I had no clue. So I was kind of in the dark about so many things, but in other ways had to grow up. But I feel like my son is more well-rounded, my older son. And so I don't have to worry about those things with him. Like we just keep the conversation going,
I feel like you can tell that, like just watching your interactions with your son,
Yeah.
like you guys seem like friends in a way.
Yeah.
Like
I'm so careful about the friend thing, you know what I mean? Because I feel like I'm their parent first and I want them
totally.
to come
Yeah.
to me, but it kind of irks me a little bit when people are like, oh, my little best friend. And I'm like, no, that's not your best friend. That's your child. Be friends later.
Yeah.
And so I feel like now that he's going into high school, we can start to be friends.
Yeah.
But always his mom first.
Yeah, I think I can tell. I think I say friend more in the sense that, like, you can tell that he's so comfortable talking with you and that you do talk to him like he is, like, older than he is, but not in like an inappropriate way, just in a way like a mutual respect type of way, and like honestly holding them to a higher expectation when you talk to them like that, and not like a child. But I really admire that too, because like it can get messy when you're like too buddy with your kids. You're like, there's expectations
for sure,
like,
and I've seen it. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure you guys have seen it too, or even on social media with other, you know, with everything being so public with you know, just anybody you follow on socials. You're like, wait a minute. That's not something that I would do, or you know what I mean? But
yeah. Okay, your mom, did she have you when she was a teenager?
No, she had me, I think 26.
Okay.
But she's a raging alcoholic. So it's one of, and she admits, like, you don't have to edit any of this out. Like, she knows, she's aware, and she's fine with it. I mean, she's probably not fine with it, but it is what it is. But yeah, no, she had me when she was 26. And that was the only 9 months. I think she was maybe sober one other time after that. And so I don't necessarily know, like, what that whole thing was about. I guess just like an unplanned pregnancy.
And growing up in that household, like, did you have to drive your mom places when you were a kid because like she wasn't able to?
Oh no, she just drove me.
While she was drunk?
Oh yeah. Car accidents, forgetting to pick me up, like, oh yeah, the whole nine. Or I just didn't live with her. I would live with other people. She'd drop me off and not pick me up for days, weeks, whatever.
What was her upbringing like? Like,
It was so good.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so and I get so nervous. Actually, my oldest son just asked me, he's like, do you ever worry about like what's going to happen to one of us as we get older? Like if one of us isn't like a productive member of society. And I'm like, I literally think about that all the time. It makes me so nervous because I see how my mom, like my mom's family is very well to do. Like her older brother's a doctor and, you know, just very well to do. Good family. They died while they were married. My grandparents were married when they passed away.
Okay.
And so it was a very, like, they built their own house and just had property. Like, it was just a good family. And so I don't understand how all of that kind of happened.
But like with the upbringing you had, were your grandparents stepping in to
my mom moved me away from them.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. So I lived around my grandparents probably until I was like 11-ish or 12. And then I was completely maybe like 3 hours from them. Oh, I guess 4 hours. 4 hours from them. So I never really saw them again after that.
That's so sad.
Yeah. It's kind of sad.
That is sad.
I laugh about it now because what else am I going to do?
Yeah.
But
yeah. Do you currently have a relationship with your mom? Do your kids have a relationship with her?
No, the last time I saw my mom was 7 years ago, and she has only met the older two. So I would imagine that she probably knows, like, maybe if it comes up on her feed or anything that I had more kids, but I never.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't even know where she lives. So if she sees anything that I'm doing, it's probably online or someone shows her maybe.
Wow.
Do you text or
no?
I
don't have her phone number. She doesn't have my phone number.
No way. Was that a boundary you set in place because of past?
Yeah. It's just one of the, like, I used to, when I was living with her growing up, I would get this, like, you know when you get anxiety and you have that, like, pit in your stomach that's like, oh my God, something is about to be wrong. That's how I'd go home from school every single day. So because I was like never knowing what I was going to walk into. And so when I got pregnant, she signed custody over to my boyfriend at the time's parents when I was 16, and I lived with them. And then that was kind of pretty much the end of our relationship. I think from there it was like, okay, this is really done. You know what I mean? And I think that was too like an excuse for her to kind of wash her hands clean of like all of her parental responsibilities. At
like
least,
you becoming pregnant, she was like,
okay, I'm done. Like, my job here is done. She's got her own kid. Like, I can walk away and not have a guilty conscience about it because she's like, okay, she's got her own stuff. You know what I mean?
Was it because she was like upset or?
I mean, what could she be upset about? She literally set me up to get pregnant. You know what I mean? Like, she kind of never guided me, never told me about a period, never told me about sex. She never did any of that, and then was like okay with me sleeping at my boyfriend's house.
I did not realize that she signed over custody.
Yeah. I don't think they showed that on 16 and Pregnant. I can't remember if they showed that or not. I feel like maybe in a deleted scene or something, or maybe I just have it like in my mind. But yeah, I mean, she just was like.
And was that her idea? Did she just bring that up one day? Hey, I have this, plan for you to be under the custody of your boyfriend's parents. Like, how did that come up?
Don't quote me on this, but I think his parents brought it up and was like, if she's going to be living here, like, and something goes wrong, I don't know that for sure, but if I remember correctly, I think that's kind of what happened, where they were like, if she needs something, like, we're going to have to take care of this. So, and I think they presented it to her and she was like, oh, okay. If I remember correctly.
How did that make you feel at the time? Or
there was a scene, it still haunts me. She's like, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And I think that's about like love, you know what I mean? Like in a relationship. But she used it about me because I was like desperately trying to spend time with her. Aww. And I was like, wow. And I think now too, like, it's been 7 years, but I still have a really hard time with it because there are so many milestones that happen like as a mom or just in life that you just want your mom. And it sucks. And sometimes I'm more emotional about it than others. And sometimes I'm like, I don't regret my decision. And I think it is good the way it is. But other times I'm like, damn, like, I just want my mom, you know? And
there's just something innate about that.
Yeah. Like you have a relationship with your mom, right? So like, could you picture your life without her? I just can't, you know what I mean? And I can't ever imagine doing that to my own kids.
Yeah. Do you have a figure in your life that kind of stepped in that way, or
no?
That's tough.
I've had like a few growing up, like here and there, whoever had custody of me. Like one time my neighbor had custody of me. I was a freshman in high school. So like I kind of looked up to her, but I wouldn't say that she was like a mother figure.
Wow. How do you go from having so much instability in your teens to like where you're at now? I'm sure that's like such a loaded question, but like as you slowly start to create stability in your own life, like did you have pull inspiration from people, or were you just like you hit a rock bottom where you're like, I got to do something different? How did that begin?
I don't know. I feel like you could go down two different paths. Like you can look at your parents as the example that you want to be just like, or you can look at it as like, okay, they're everything I don't want to be. And I think subconsciously it was like, I want to do all the things my parents didn't do. Like I don't drink, I don't do drugs. I've never experimented with drugs. You know what I mean? So like, I think I went down just the complete opposite path, and I don't really know why or how it worked out that way. But even now, like I still, obviously I have 4 kids' dads, so that's a lot. And so I think in some ways I did perpetuate the cycle where like my mom had like 7 husbands or something like that, and different men in and out. And so I think there I did repeat the cycle a little bit, and I do worry sometimes, like people either love it or hate it, where like I went from an apartment and I move a lot because anytime I get the chance to kind of like upgrade, I do, because I worked really hard for this. And like if all my kids can have the same, you know, their own bedrooms, I want to move into a house that has that, you know? So I think in some ways the cycle is still there. So it's a loaded question. I don't know how I got here though. Like I think just trying to be as stable as I can, I think is maybe just like a subconscious thing.
Do you think like obviously having kids young probably played a major role in that?
Yeah.
And like in what ways did finding out you were pregnant at you were 16?
Yeah.
How did that change your life?
So I would judge women or girls that I saw that were pregnant, because I would be like, what are you going to do with your life? Like, do you not have goals? Are you not going to go to college? And I think that when I got pregnant myself, it made me realize, okay, it's going to be harder, but I can still do all those things. And so I kind of ate my own thoughts, ate my own words, you know what I mean? And I was like, okay, I have to, this is my, like, I think I tried smoking, I was smoking weed, not like big time drugs, but at that time, and I was like, okay, I have to stop that. I have to get a job. I have to do all these things and like get myself in order. So I think definitely knowing that I was responsible for another life, I needed to get my life together. But outside of that, it was a huge change. It was a lot of changes in such a short time that I was like, okay, we got to figure out what we're going to do so that I don't end up how my mom is. Does that make sense? Like not even like the drugs and alcohol thing, but like the instability. So I was like, I don't want that. So that's when I did everything to try to, and then I applied for the show, but without anyone knowing. And I was like, let me just do that, because I didn't know what it could do for me. Like I had no idea, but I was like, maybe like I have to try something.
So you applied. I didn't know how that like came about, because I feel like it could be sketchy if like they had approached you. Like it had to definitely be.
Yeah, totally. I know one of the girls saw a listing, like, or one of the parents or the girls had seen a listing on like Craigslist. Like, do you guys remember Craigslist?
That's so weird.
So that was like the first, I believe that was the first, like the original, like Macy, Caitlyn, Amber, and Farrah. I think they had like ads, and maybe even for my season of Girls, but I remember being pregnant and I was watching the 16 and Pregnant, the first whatever.
Oh, so you had watched it.
Yeah, but I was already pregnant, so I was like, oh, like what is this? So I go on MTV.com and it was like now casting, and I was like, all right, let me send this little paragraph, and I did it, and then I got a call and was like, what the heck am I gonna do? And I still didn't tell anyone, because I was like, no, they're not gonna pick me. So it was just, I'm just doing this for shits and giggles, really, at this point. And then here we go, full circle into what became Teen Mom. Yeah.
So at the time, like, watching that show, how do you think, like, what was your perception watching the show and being pregnant? Like, were you like, this is going to be okay? Did it give you peace of mind, or were you more, like, overwhelmed at what was going to be happening in your life?
With the exception of Kailyn, I was like, they're not really showing what it's like to have nothing. I think a lot of the girls came from pretty good families. They had, like, you know, a good relationship with their parents, or they, you know, came from fairly stable households. And I was like, they're not really showing. And actually, what they didn't show is that my mom actually got evicted that same week. So I actually didn't have a place to live. So I was kind of forced to live with my boyfriend's parents at the time. So when I wrote in, I was like, maybe if I tell my story about, like, how it doesn't always start, like, from a good family and things like that, maybe that part would, like, really prevent other girls from putting themselves in, you know, situations where they could become pregnant. So that was the beginning of 16 and Pregnant.
Wild.
For me. Yeah, wild ride.
And the draw for you, like, was there some promise of, hey, we'll pay you some money if you're on the show? Like, why did you want to apply?
I think really just telling the story of, like, where I came from nothing, like literally nothing. And I know that there are so many girls that come from nothing, and then they maybe accidentally or by chance, or, you know, whatever the case may be, they get themselves into a position where they could get pregnant. And I just thought, maybe if I told this part where you come from nothing and you get pregnant, it's not great. You know what I mean? So I thought maybe that they actually didn't pay. It was like $5,000 before taxes. So it wasn't anything. I mean, I think I bought a car with that. I didn't have a car. I got my license on the show. It was like a deleted scene. So I, like, didn't even have my license or anything.
That must be so inspiring too, for people to see that and see you go from nothing to now thriving. You have multiple podcasts, and you, I don't know, are clearly just successful in your career. And so I mean, that must be so cool for people that watch the show to now see you killing it.
Yeah.
I hope so, because sometimes I think it gets lost. I think people just remember right now, or maybe like the last 5 to 7 years. They don't really remember. They didn't show a whole lot about where I came from. So I don't know. I hope that people are like, okay, we could, if she can do it, then I can do it.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We had a BetterHelp appointment today, right before this. And it was great.
I don't know if you guys have considered ever going to therapy, but seriously, like, if you're not on the therapy train, what are you doing? People are so good about, like, taking care of their physical health these days. And look at Abby, like, she's been a freaking star, like, encouraging me to go to the gym more, because she goes to the gym like 5 days a week. But what if you put as much time into your mental health as you did your physical health?
Yeah.
And that's why I think therapy is really important.
I think there's a lot of talk about therapy nowadays, but I think sometimes it can be overwhelming and, like, okay, yeah, I think I need that. I think it'd be good for me, but how do I get started? That's, like, a very overwhelming thought. But BetterHelp makes it super, super easy. It's designed to suit you and your schedule. It's very flexible. It's entirely online. They basically just match you with a therapist depending on your specific needs. Like, you can say if you want someone that's older, or if you want Christian therapy, or if you want so many different types of things, or if you want couple therapy like we had, and then they'll set you with a therapist, but you can switch at any time with no additional cost. So you find a match that works for you at a time that works for you, and all you have to do is open your computer to start. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/UnplannedPodcast today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/UnplannedPodcast. What do you hope young female viewers that had watched your seasons, like, gain from hearing your story?
Well, for one, I just want them to know that, nobody wants to have all of their teenage decisions blasted all over the internet, and I didn't think about that part of it.
Yeah.
And so I have so many people that will write into me and be like, I did not like you when I first started watching the show, but, like, now I love you. And I'm like, no, I get it. Like, none of us probably would want that on the TV, right? Like, making crazy decisions, fighting with our boyfriends, whatever, breaking up, cheating, scandals, the whole nine. So I just hope that people look at my story and they're like, okay, we can do this. We got this. We're going to keep pushing through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because whether it's kids or something else, like, I just feel like there's always more to be done. There's always more that we can get. We can get through it. It's going to be hard, but we can do it.
This weekend, Abby and I were watching highlights from the show, and
oh God.
I was actually, well, it's funny that you say that, first off, because seeing who you are now from who you were 14 years ago, crazy, wild. Like, it's just so cool to, like, I don't know, see the evolution of a person in just a matter of a few days, because, like, my perception of you in a way was like, oh, this is like this young girl on the show, but, like, I was just watching a show that was old. Like, that's old seasons, you know, so it's like really cool to see how much you've changed, and you've like come a really long way, which is awesome.
I would be mortified to watch old seasons of Teen Mom.
Here's the thing, watching it, I was like, I felt nothing but empathy, because I think any woman looking at that could just look and imagine being 16 again. And then now, since becoming a mom, I cannot imagine, like, I started a family young, but there's a large difference between, you know, being 23, married, like all that, and then like 16, you don't have like any stability at home. Like, I just felt nothing but empathy. And honestly, you then to seeing you now, I'm like, the pattern of your life of resilience is like,
I can't cry. I just got my makeup done.
Admirable.
We have dinner plans tonight. Don't make me cry right now.
You're such a resilient person, though. Truly, like, I just see so much strength and resilience. Like, it's really, really, because most people, that's not the situation. Like,
well, I agree with you too, because like, I'm fortunate to have two loving parents that I grew up with, and I had their support and I had their help to guide me to not make dumb decisions that I would have made if I wouldn't have had them as a kid.
Yeah.
And so, like Abby said, seeing you with not the strongest support system, you're living in your boyfriend's parents' basement, and I felt so much like, I wish that everyone in life could just have an equal playing field, and it's like everyone gets an opportunity, everyone doesn't have to start off with a crappy broken system, but it's not that way. You know, life isn't that way, and some people are born into a billionaire family, and some kids are born into a household with no dad and an alcoholic mother.
Yes,
right?
100%. I always do like go back to the idea of like, if I was adopted into the right family, like what could I have done? And I even think after all these years, like, I wish I didn't think that way, but I know, like, I was the only one, I don't know if you guys know this, I was the only one on the entire franchise to get a bachelor's degree. And so, like, imagine what I could have done, and if I could have the exact same kids maybe 10 years later, you know what I mean? Because I don't regret any of my kids for 1 second. So, like, what could I have done if I was in the right family? You know what I mean? But, like, that could have been so cool.
Do you wish you would have, I mean, obviously you can't change anything, but, like, if your mom was, like, in that position, do you wish that she would have, like, decided to put you up for adoption at one point?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think that, and I think it was a pride thing for her. Allegedly, other family members had like toyed with the idea of like taking me in, but my mom wasn't having it. So I just wish that, and I see like where their kids are today, and I'm like, oh, wow. Like, wow. So I wish that I could have maybe had that and had the same kids later on, but it all worked out.
Obviously, in hindsight, like if you could have like projected your life now to 16-year-old you, like, you wouldn't have changed like anything. But at the time of finding out you're 16, you knew where you were at in life. Was the thought ever in your mind, like, maybe to put your son up for adoption? Were you like, I don't know if this is like right at this point?
No, I don't think so. Allegedly, Joe thought about it. It was in one of the scenes that I didn't even know he felt that way until we were like filming.
Oh, wow.
And he said it on camera. We were all sitting at like the table at his parents' house, and he said something about like he would have considered that, and he never brought that to me. I never considered it. Like, it wasn't even because it was almost like I knew in the back of my mind, like, it was like I needed to get pregnant and have him to execute everything that I needed to do to like and I hate that because he was born into so much pressure. It feels like even just saying that out loud, it feels like he was born into pressure. Like, he was the reason why I did those things. But I do think that he was the reason why I got my life in order and did the things that I did. But I had no idea until we filmed that scene. I think it was 16 and Pregnant, maybe Teen Mom, I'm not sure, where he said that. But it never crossed my mind to put him up for adoption.
It was wild too, seeing your thought process going through all of that, because you're so young, and even like, we had kids younger than most people do. Obviously we had kids older than you did, but like, for us being 23 and 24, having our first child, I was just like, I feel like I'm a kid. Like, I don't even know, like, am I really an adult? Like, I just feel like I have imposter syndrome right now. And it was funny because there was a moment where I think it was, you guys were talking about Facebook. It was like you hanging out with some friends, and it's like, oh, if you're gonna, go on dates with this guy, you should like change your friends were like encouraging you to change your relationship status on Facebook.
Like, and I listened to them. Yes. I think, like, how crazy was that? I forgot about that. Wow. I hope that friend is doing well. I think I might still be friends with her on Facebook, actually.
Oh, no Facebook, way. Of course.
But just like seeing your thought process of like, yeah, you know what? My friends are right. Rather than going and talking to, my boyfriend and his parents, I should just change my relationship status on Facebook.
Like, what was I thinking? No. What were they thinking, encouraging me to do that?
I'm thinking about the producers filming this.
Yes,
They were like,
okay.
why didn't someone step in?
Oh no, they wanted that. There was one time, there was this whole controversy over, so Joe's brother would watch Isaac when I would go to class, and I had paid him off camera to babysit, and this is his uncle, right? Like, who pays their uncle to babysit? Anyway, and so we were filming, and I think I owed somebody money, and then there was like this huge fight about me not paying him. And I said to the cameraman, can you please tell them that you saw me pay him? And they weren't allowed to step in. So they were allowed to film all of the drama that like ensued, but nobody stepped in on my behalf to
Like,
be like,
be a
no,
witness.
like she definitely paid him.
No.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like, just thinking back, I was like, what in the world? What in the world? Because like now I know better. So if I were to be on a TV show now, I'd be like, okay, I'm definitely not going to do that. You know what I mean? But like then you think that they own your entire soul. So you're like, okay, I have to do exactly what is happening.
Did they kind of like encourage those kind of interactions, or
No, they just didn't
there.
do anything. Yeah. It just was like, okay, we have to record this kind of thing.
wow.
I paused the show. I was like, Abby, why is a producer not stepping in right now to tell Kale to not change your relationship status on Facebook?
Oh no, they ate that up.
I also even thought about you like having your first baby. You're so young, so many people in the room. Like I cannot even.
Well, they lied about who they were to film that.
I guess it would have to be.
They were like, we're related to her, we're her cousins. And like now looking back, I'm like, I would have never allowed that. But 16 and 17-year-old Kale, I didn't care because I was getting $5,000. I had to buy a car so that I could get us to the doctor. You know what I mean? Like it was like, you just don't think about these things. So like now I'm thinking about all of the things that went into reality TV, and I'm like, oh wow. And they're not all that way.
Yeah.
And I think they definitely, Teen Mom itself, the producers, all of that evolved over time. But in the beginning, I think we just didn't know any better. So they definitely took advantage of that.
I'm surprised that they were able to, like, even with the network's rules, because you were you were a minor.
Yeah.
And that's like I can't even imagine what that would be like. I didn't even want like my own mom in the room. I was like, I just need us, like
you two.
Yeah, because it's just so overwhelming.
Yeah.
Like vulnerable moment, like wild things.
And you 2 years ago left the show. Now you're doing podcasts. What kind of led you to leave the show? What made you decide, hey, I'm done with this. I wanna go off and do my own thing?
There were a lot of things that were a factor. One of the bigger ones was that like I was giving them, so we would have like these, I don't want to call them meetings because I don't think they were meetings, but just like periodic updates about like everything that you have going on. And I would give 10, 15 things of like what I wanted to film, and they would never focus on any of that. They only wanted to focus on myself and the relationships with the dad. But we're so far removed from that. Like we're no longer preventing teen pregnancy. We're just showing where we're at now. Yeah. And so it was really frustrating to constantly look like I'm fighting with the producers or I'm like withholding information when it's like, there's no movement on my relationship with my son's dad. There's nothing here. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to focus on things that are like driving me. I want to focus on my career. I want to do all of that and show those things. And they never wanted to do it. And so that was like I would say the biggest driving factor. My kids wanted to participate only when it was showcasing like highlights. And I also agree with that. Like, why are we trying to have them have meltdowns or like have them, I don't know, like situations that involve them or conflicts that involve them? I just don't think that they didn't need to be a participant of that. So I just wanted to see more growth in my story, but I feel like I was mainly pigeonholed into the character that I was created to be. So I was like, all right, let's take a step back. And if we, in 2-3 years decide, okay, we want to go back to TV, like we could do that. But honestly think it was probably the best decision I've made. So I don't regret it.
Who is that character that you were created to be? And then who do you feel like you actually are?
Have you ever seen any of like the Disney villain origin stories? Like, have you ever seen like specifically Maleficent? She's my favorite villain, but she was a fairy before she was a villain. But the humans stole her wings and like mocked her and did that whole thing. And so she became a villain. I feel like they didn't show enough of where I came from to kind of set the scene for why I made pretty poor decisions. And like, they didn't focus a lot on like my parents and my upbringing. And then they villainized me because I made stupid decisions, like dating this guy in their house. And, we all cheated, I think, when we were younger or whatever. And With that, I went to college. They showed my graduation from college for maybe a minute. I thought we were preventing teen pregnancy, and I'm the only one on the franchise that has a bachelor's degree, and you guys didn't showcase that but for 1 minute. Like I just feel like showing, the odds stacked against me and how I kind of broke the walls down. They never focused on that. And so I feel like that was the part that was really missing from everyone. And I would have given them the drama they wanted, but I needed it to be the drama that made sense for my story, not for what I was 10 years prior, if that makes sense. Sort of like the Disney villain origin story.
That's so deep. Sorry, my brain's like going on a wild train, but that's really cool though. It's kind of interesting though. Like when you think about it, like most villains didn't start off that way.
No,
they didn't.
No, they were villainized.
Yeah,
and I definitely didn't make the best decisions all the time. Like I know that I could watch Teen Mom and tell you, I definitely shouldn't have done that, and point out all the things that I shouldn't have done or I shouldn't have said. And I know that, but it's like, I have accountability and I know how to own what I've done wrong, and I still don't get that forgiveness. Even now, I think I struggle with it. I think that people still hold on to like who I was because of the show. So hopefully one day people will be like, okay, this is who she is now, and we all make mistakes, but I don't think I'm all the way there yet.
Where are you going? Like, where do you envision yourself in 5 years? What's the goal and the evolution of Kale?
I want to go to law school.
No way.
Yeah, I want to take the LSATs and go to law school, and hopefully put Kristen through law school too. My assistant, my best friend, and we just want to own a law firm together. So that's the goal.
No way.
I always make jokes that me and Isaac will go to college again at the same time. Like he'll go and then I'll also go.
No way.
That's sweet.
So I'm like, we'll just keep growing up together. It's fine. And he laughs about it. So that's like the 5 years, because then the twins will be in kindergarten. So I would have more flexibility to like go to classes and still be able to podcast at night if I need to, like, for the income and stuff.
Why law school?
I just always wanted to be a lawyer.
Really?
Always. Yeah. And you know what? Being in the entertainment industry, and I mean entertainment, not like strippers, like, as you know, like TV and stuff. We deal with so many like entertainment contracts and like just like the book deals and the socials and like all the contracts that I feel like we have so much experience firsthand that it makes sense. And unfortunately, neither of us live in states that have like the apprenticeship way to law school or to become a lawyer. So I'd have to physically go to the classes, which is fine. I think if I were to do well on the LSAT, there's a school that's like about an hour and a half from me. So I would have to make the commute, but like I'm down to do it if my kids are in kindergarten. So that would be my fingers are crossed.
I didn't know that was a way into being a lawyer, being being an apprentice though. Have you considered potentially moving your family to a different state so you could be an apprentice?
I just don't know how to approach 4 dads and be like, hey, I want to do this for myself, so I need to move all of us to another state. I think they would be like, you've lost your mind. If it wasn't gone before, it's definitely gone now.
That's something I didn't even think about. So yeah, with having 4 different dads that you're coordinating with, and they're spending time with their kid, you're spending time with your kid, like, you can't leave the state.
No.
You can't.
And I didn't come there by choice. I came there because of my ex-husband. So he was stationed there for the military and he made it a career. So we've been there for 10 years. And then with that, my son, Joe, from Isaac's dad, moved his family to Delaware. Well, then I went to college and I met Lux and Creed's dad, and we met in college and we were together for on and off for 5 years. And so he's from Delaware. And then after that, I was with Elijah, who's also from Delaware. So everyone's in Delaware. And I don't think that a judge would be like, yeah, this is a great idea. So like I could, in theory, file to relocate. But like, what are they going to say?
Does that...
Oh, that's a process.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Like I think either everyone would have to be on board, which I think they wouldn't. And it just wouldn't, I don't think it would work out.
You're like, I am in Delaware. I'm going to make the most of it.
I'm going to make the best
So you actually cannot move?
No. Like, in theory, yes, but like, no.
Crazy. So if you decide, you know what, I've decided Paris is my home, I want to move there, you would have to go to in court and like plead your case to a judge who then decides if this is okay for your family.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah. And there have been times where I'm like, oh, I'll do it. And then I get wild hairs and I'm like, okay, I think South Carolina most recently. I was like, I love it. I think I need to buy a house here. And then I was like, wait, this process will actually be a nightmare.
I think you mentioned on your podcast, like, co-parenting coordinator. What is that? I didn't even know that was a job.
Yeah, so that's after almost 15 years of co-parenting, I'm just now discovering what this is. So I recently had a trial with one of the dads, and my lawyer was like, you guys are not a candidate. You guys are not candidates for co-parenting counseling because you guys are committed to not understanding each other and never seeing the other one's perspective. So what a co-parenting coordinator does is basically, instead of going to a judge and pleading your case, you go to the coordinator, who is like a lawyer mediator, and you're like, okay, I want to go on vacation on their week this time, but I'm going to offer them these other 2 weeks to make up for it. And say the other parent is like, absolutely not, she's still not taking my week. The co-parenting coordinator would be like, no, yes, she is, because she's offering you these 2 other weeks. She's being more than reasonable, or whatever the case is. In Delaware, you can send your kids to any school you want, any public school you want. Why do you want to send them to this school versus that school? You would go to the co-parenting coordinator. And if then it still doesn't get worked out or solved, I think at that point, then you could go to the judge. But it's basically like a mediator under a retainer.
Okay.
Sounds good, in theory.
So would you need to have one for each relationship?
Probably not. No, I mean, there's only one that I don't get along with, so just that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that was a job.
That's really cool.
Me neither. I just found out. I think Joe and I could have benefited from one of those like a long time ago, but I didn't know they existed. So now I know.
So if someone is divorced watching this and they're having issues with their ex-spouse, they should go to a co-parenting coordinator.
Absolutely. And I don't even think you had to be married, because I wasn't married to him.
Oh,
so,
that's right.
Yeah, I think just look up, probably ask an attorney, like call an attorney. They'll give you resources. Most of the time they're attorneys. So,
but all that stuff costs money, though,
it
right?
does.
Like, how do you afford that if you're coming from nothing? I mean, like, I'm just thinking of like other parents out there who need to have conflict resolution in the relationship with them not being with their person anymore. How, like, what should they do? What should somebody do if they don't have the finances to pay a co-parenting coordinator?
I don't know about other states. I know Delaware is like pro dad. So, there's resources available for dads that want to be actively involved, I guess, for lack of better words. So honestly, probably just, I would go to family court and then just ask like the clerk or something, and they might have a list of resources for
I'm sure.
low income or anything like that, is my advice. Because sometimes like lawyers will give you resources without a consultation. They might be like, oh, I can't help you, but these people can, and like give you information, or the clerk at the family courthouse.
What's been your drive through all of this? What's been the thing that when life gets you down and you feel like you can't get back up again, or you feel like you've been villainized for past mistakes, or maybe there's a conflict that arises with coordinating vacations? I don't know. Like what keeps you, like what wakes you up in the morning and you're like, hey, it's going to be okay. You know?
I think the quickest answer would be my kids. As you guys know, as parents, like they just motivate you in a different way than anybody else. But I think too, like from a more personal perspective, would be just not wanting to be like my mom, like trying to be the mom that I never had, or the person that I never had to look up to. Cause I didn't really have that either. Like I just didn't have like a solid, like I didn't have an older sibling. I didn't have an aunt to look up to, or like just like a woman that I could look up to. I think just trying to be that person that I didn't have, probably.
And I know you said your mom never had the sex talk with you. Have you had those conversations with your kids? What do those conversations look like with your kids?
Yeah, I definitely have. Not the younger ones, but specifically the older one. I'm like, do you like look at, kids? And I'm like, are you? And he's like, Mom, like he's not interested yet. But I'm like, okay, like if you want to talk about it, I'm here. Or he'll tell me like, oh, he has a crush on somebody. I'm like, okay, tell me about this person. Like, what are you feeling? Like, kind of like gossiping, but in a parental role, so that I can like plant the seeds. You know what I mean?
Do they know how babies are made though? Like,
yes,
they
yes,
are? Okay.
For sure.
This episode of Unplanned Podcast is brought to you by Huggies Skin Essentials.
Baby butts rejoice! New Huggies Skin Essentials are here.
A brand new dermatologist approved line of diapers, wipes, and pull-ups training pants, all designed with babies' sensitive skin in mind. The Skin Essentials diapers feature the Skin Protect liner and help protect against the top 2 causes of rash by managing moisture and runny mess, if you know what we mean. The wipes are thick and have 0 harsh ingredients for a great, gentle clean. Pull-Up Skin Essentials has got your big kids covered too, with a training pant that is ultra soft and breathable to help protect sensitive skin throughout the potty training process, which we are about to endeavor on. We've been trying to practice putting him on the potty.
I literally put our son on the potty today.
Yeah, I've been doing it more and more recently.
Nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
I don't think he's ever actually gone on the potty ever.
Which is good that we have pull-ups training pants, because I mean we've never had a successful landing.
Never.
But
ever.
These have got your back, and like we've said before, our boys are both very rash prone, so it's nice that they have diapers that are gentle on the skin and help protect against moisture sitting on it for too long. So Huggies are great, and they're very, very affordable too. Learn more at Huggies.com. Once again, head to Huggies.com to learn more.
this is a little bit controversial, but my kids we don't use like names for private parts and things like that. So like straight up, if you ask my kids where babies come from, they will say your vagina, like straight up. And I do that for several reasons. One, I think there's like predators and like it just scares me, but also just like wanting to do things so much differently than what I had. I know it's not for everybody. And I know that like my 7-year-old maybe shouldn't know what a vagina is, but like also he does, because I also teach him at that age about consent. Even my 4-year-old knows about consent. Like, don't hug your friends without asking. Don't kiss anybody on the cheek without asking. Like, very like strict with that. And so I definitely have those conversations. Not with the younger ones, but body parts, yes.
That's cool that you're having conversations
Some
about
people
consent.
don't like it. They're like, oh, I don't think about, like, I don't know if my kid needs to know, my toddler shouldn't know what a vagina is. And I'm like, I get it. Like, it's not for everyone. It's not.
I mean, yeah, I can see both sides, but I'm like, it is just human anatomy. Like, it's really not, like, it's only people that just make it weird. Like, I don't know, society, culture.
I just get nervous about, like, they don't ride the bus or anything. When we build our new house, they'll ride the bus, I think. Maybe. I don't know yet, but I'm like nervous because I've heard about like crazy conversations that kids have had on the bus, and I just rather them know from me, like, oh, this is what that, like, my 4-year-old came up to me and was like, what are those, like, talking about my boobs, and like, these are boobs and nipples, and he's like, oh, okay, and then he just doesn't care, you know what I mean? And so I think I'd rather that than like him going on the bus and being like hearing all these like conversations. You know?
So you're like probably a very different, well, would you say that you're a different mom now than when you first started having babies?
The makeup artist literally asked me that this morning.
Really?
Yeah. Surprisingly, I think I've grown with the times, but I think my principles have remained the same.
Okay.
I think I've been the same mom, but trying to make better decisions as I know better. Like, I'm trying to do better when I know better. But outside, I think my principles have been pretty much the same.
Okay, because I was going to ask if, like, you notice a difference between, like, your first son, Isaac, and then, like, some of your younger children, like, if they are similar or different anyway.
I will say my middle kids are probably the most different. And I feel bad because they are middle kids. And so then I feel like they already get like the reputation of being the middle children. But I had a nanny during that time. And I think that the impact that a nanny has on your children compared to when you just raise your kids yourself will make a huge difference. And so my older 2 and my younger 3 are exactly the same. But my middle 2, because I had a nanny during that time, I think are a little bit different. Like, they were parented different because of that. Which is really interesting. And I've only just now kind of seen the effects of that, I feel. You know? Do you guys have a nanny?
We don't have a nanny.
No.
But like Abby's mom will help out through like during
for
the day
sure.
and stuff when
Which
we're
is
working.
so nice.
Yeah. But I'm like, do you think that's in a good way? Has it helped things? Oh, in a bad way?
Absolutely not.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely not. I think that it was needed at the time. I had like postpartum and like I was going through a lot of things at the time. And so I think it was needed at the time. But like looking at the results today and looking back at the situation, I definitely, it's a catch-22 because it was needed at that time. But I think that the kids were impacted differently than if I would have just raised them myself, like by myself.
Were you? But okay, obviously postpartum is a serious thing that's not easy to go through that.
Yeah.
So do you wish you would have tried to not have the nanny even while you were going through postpartum?
Yeah. Or potentially maybe had less help.
Yeah.
Still had help, like her help, but less of it. And had more boundaries, I think. Because I think lines were blurred a little bit.
And with postpartum, was that something that happened with every pregnancy, or was this just a few of them?
At first, I thought after Isaac, I had like postpartum, but I think it was more like a case of like baby blues. I also just didn't like. There's a scene, I think it was on 16 and Pregnant, where I'm coming home from the hospital, and she was like, "Are you ready to go home?" And I was like, "No," because in the hospital, you have like the nurses and everything that were helping you care for the baby, and nobody stayed at the hospital with me. So like Joe went back to work the same day. Nobody stayed at the hospital, so I had the nurses help. So I was very scared to go home and like everyone's back at work, and I don't know what to do. So I was not prepared, and so I would sleep on the floor in his room. And finally, Joe's dad was like, "You need to get up out of this room. You need to shower. You need to get up. You need to do like," and I was taking care of him. So that's why I think it was more, maybe it was just like depression in general, because I wasn't not taking care of him. where I think sometimes postpartum is hard to like bond with your baby and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have it with Lincoln. I didn't have it with Lux. But I think with my fourth, there was also like a lot of stuff that happened prior to giving birth to him that I think affected it. And then COVID, I ended up having him at home. And so it was like just a lot of factors I think that played into postpartum, but then I never had it after that.
You had him at home like you did a home birth?
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
It was really cool. I always say, did you have like an epidural or anything?
Yeah.
So I've had every single birth imaginable. I've had epidural, no epidural, home birth, hospital birth, medicated, unmedicated, a C-section.
You're like, I can tell you.
I've had all
Wait,
of that.
yeah, give us the tea. Give us the walkthrough.
When people ask about, or like we have, you know, when you go out with your girlfriends and you all talk about like childbirth and things like that. I've had every single one. I will say, through all the experiences, the unmedicated was really, really cool. I did a hospital unmedicated and then I did a home unmedicated. Okay. They were really cool.
It's like collect them all.
Yeah. I was like, let me just experience it for everyone and then I'll give you guys the feedback.
I'll be the guinea pig.
Yeah. So, what am I saying?
We're talking about collect them all the different.
Oh yeah, the home
births. Yeah.
So I had a midwife who she took care of a lot of like the Amish around us. Like I live in an Amish community, so everyone's Amish around us, and their whole thing is like you don't lift a finger for 6 weeks. Like her whole thing was like you don't use the stairs, don't get out of bed, like don't do any of that. And so I was like, okay, but I have 3 other kids and like, what am I supposed to do? And so she was so, holistic, I guess. And so it was really cool to like see that kind of perspective of childbirth. And it was like really cool to experience it. But I think overall I felt safer in a hospital. Like it felt like one of those things where like, I like the idea of the pediatrician coming in to like check on the baby after and like being checked and things like that. But I did learn a lot of cool things. So like, when you're giving birth, I chose to give birth in bed. I know a lot of people do like the shower, but like, I don't know why I was most comfortable in bed. I just was. And we laid like a shower curtain on the bed. So that way it doesn't ruin your sheets. So that was kind of cool. And then also putting honey in your diapers instead of wearing pads after birth, wear like an actual adult diaper because it's less messy and it just like covers you and keeps you secure. But putting honey in it because it's antimicrobial and so it helps you heal faster allegedly. And so that was kind of cool. So it's just like different things. And then I took some of those things and implemented them in my births after the home birth.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I kind of got the best of both of all the worlds.
And how would you rank them from like best experience? Wow, if I had to give birth, I would do that again, or in worst experience.
I'm so curious.
Okay, so I would say overall, I would say the home birth was probably my favorite.
Really?
And then I would say hospital birth unmedicated, and that wasn't by choice. That was an accident. So my water broke at 1:30 in the morning, and I gave birth by 3:00 on the dot. Like 90 minutes flat. I begged for an epidural, but she couldn't eat. I never got an IV. Like I never even got fluids. So like that wasn't by choice. So then I would say unmedicated because it just is a relief. What am I saying? Release of endorphins. Like unmedicated is a little bit different. So I would say home birth, unmedicated hospital, and then I would say so then the third one my first one I had an epidural. So then I would say fentanyl before I knew what it was. I did a fentanyl birth. And so that was, you've heard of the fentanyl on the streets. It's not that kind. So in the hospital, you can get it. Mind you, at this time, I did not know that this was like a street drug. Like I had no idea.
You're like either unmedicated or fentanyl.
Yeah. No in between. No, I'm just kidding. So the fentanyl, they cut it off at a certain point because if they don't, the baby will come out like completely like out of it. Like it will like basically drug the baby. But in actual like medical doses, it can be really, really powerful. It can work for you really well. So I was like nodding off, for lack of better words, during labor, but it wasn't an epidural.
Okay.
So you still feel like the ring of fire and stuff like that. So I would say, yeah, home birth, unmedicated, fentanyl, epidural, and then C-section. Wait, am I missing one?
Rio.
Oh, Rio, I did epidural too. So yeah.
Wow.
I was like, wait, I knew someone was missing.
You did a C-section with the twins.
Yeah, and that also, I was kind of prepared for that. They wanted to induce me, and I was like completely against it because I was like, I'm fine. I've done this 100 times. Like I don't need to be induced. Like my body is going to do what it needs to do. If at 40 weeks I don't go on my own, like then we'll talk about
twins?
it. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I didn't personally feel like I needed to be induced before that because my body had done it so many times before, and it did work out for me. Obviously, that's not the case for everybody, and I completely understand. But the C-section was scary.
Oh, was it unscheduled?
Yeah, well, so they tried to schedule it for the 38 weeks, and I was like, no, I'm going to do this on my own. I ended up going 5 weeks early, went into labor on my own. And so at that point, it became like an emergency C-section, sort of. Like it wasn't a super emergency, but it was like, okay, we actually need to do a C-section today kind of thing. And so I wouldn't really recommend that, but what was the alternatives to schedule one when I wasn't ready?
Was the plan to always do a C-section or what? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was always to do a C-section, but I always wanted to go into labor on my own and then have the C-section.
Okay.
Because I just felt like I said, my body had done this 100 times before. So that was kind of like what my thought process was.
Okay.
And obviously don't take my advice. I'm not a doctor, so.
And why the C-section? Like what part of the process sucked?
So I have had cosmetic procedures before where I was elective. So I was drugged before I went in the room, right? So like they give you a Valium or a Xanax, and so you're kind of already out of it. When you get a C-section, you don't have that. So you walk into an operating room that's like straight out of a movie where it's like these tools and these monitors and like all of these things. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be cut open and I'm not drugged yet. You know what I mean? And then I started, TMI, I hope you don't have a weak stomach. I started throwing up my dinner. So I'm like literally on the table, strapped down because they strap your arms down, which nobody ever told me. Did you get a C-section?
With my second.
Did you get strapped down?
Yo, yeah.
Oh, I hated it.
I was like, why?
I was like, what are we strapped? And they were like, some people convulse. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I was just really upset. And they didn't let Elijah in the room right away.
Were you vomiting because of anxiety?
I don't know if it was anxiety or nausea or what.
Okay.
Medicine. So they ended up giving me medicine that maybe made me sick or I was already throwing up. I don't know. So then they gave me the anti-nausea medicine. It was just a nightmare. I would never recommend that. I mean, obviously we need them, but like,
yeah.
Yikes.
I wonder if they do that because they want the moms to be able to see their baby, like right when the baby comes out.
Well, they didn't let me see my daughter.
Wait, really?
Elijah said they did, but I have no recollection, actually. So they might have.
So sad.
I remember seeing, because I found out, I think around 13 weeks that it was boy-girl twins. And so I had 6 boys. I was like, I can't wait to have a daughter. Like, this is exciting. I remember he was born first. And I remember like seeing him and having him next to my face. And I don't remember anything about them putting my daughter near me. So I don't know if it's like about that. It could be. I don't know. I also hated the date that they were born. I wanted them to be born 15 minutes later, so it was on the next date. But they were like, no. I was like, it's 15 minutes. And they were like, no.
Oh, you like literally asked them?
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
That's so funny.
Well, that's the whole reason. I shouldn't be admitting this. I really didn't want the C-section either to be induced because they wouldn't give me an induction date that I liked. So like whole numbers. You know what I mean? Like the 30th, the 25th, like these are like nice solid numbers.
And they were like, no.
They were
I
like,
wonder if there's places that actually let you choose the date if you're like, oh, I love this date. Because Abby's dad's birthday was the next day. And so it's like, how cool would that be if our son was born on your dad's birthday?
For sure.
Because our first boy was born on my mom's birthday.
Oh, that would have been so
right?
cool.
To have like they both share a birthday with a grandparent.
Like, I don't think I want to do this one more day.
Yeah. Abby was like, get this baby out of me.
Like, I think I'm ready.
You're like, I'm done.
I want to hold him in my arms. That's so
I love
funny.
that. No, I just really wanted a whole date, and they were like, no.
So it's more the procedure than the recovery that you like hated for this.
Oh, the recovery was nothing for me. I had no issues, like
really?
at all.
Okay.
But I had a tummy tuck in 2016, so I had no feeling below my belly button at all, like even now. So I never felt like my incision busted open and was like leaking. Like I'm talking like leaking, and I never felt it.
Wait, you had a tummy tuck and then you got pregnant with twins?
I got pregnant 5 times after my tummy tuck.
No way.
I sure did. That's why I came to Scottsdale, Arizona to go meet with that plastic surgeon.
Oh, you want to do it again?
I just want a little revision.
Oh, because so it stayed pretty well.
Oh, it stayed really well. There's like my muscles separated. So he was like, so the doctor I talked to in Dallas, so I want to get a third opinion, said, oh, you don't even need like a full tummy tuck or like a mini. I just need to tighten the muscles back up because they stretched out a little bit. But like the tummy tuck itself is great. It's fantastic.
Wow.
So, but 5 kids after is kind of crazy. Like why? Like I should have waited, but.
Was it harder then to be pregnant after your skin was so tight?
Yeah.
Okay.
My 4th son, his foot, it was fine. But this is why I said about like the pediatrician coming to the room after. You don't have that at home birth. Well, my 4th son was born at home. I don't know if it's from my tummy tuck. My doctor says no, but I tend to disagree. His toes were born touching his shins. Like, think about your foot and your toes.
They stayed that way?
Oh, he had to go to an orthopedic doctor and everything. They swear it wasn't from my tummy tuck, but I don't think that they're correct.
Like, there just wasn't enough space for him to stretch it out?
Correct. That's my opinion. I'm not a doctor.
Oh my gosh.
He's fine now.
What was more painful, the tummy tuck or the C-section?
The C-section. No, I didn't feel the C-section. I would say the tummy tuck. Yeah, the tummy tuck.
Like the recovery?
Here's the thing. I didn't feel the tummy tuck either because I had lipo. And the lipo hurt so bad that I didn't feel anything else.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can talk to you guys for days.
Like, anything you guys want to know, I'm an open book. Like,
I'm so curious.
This might be a 3-hour podcast.
Well, like, I did not know that. Yeah, the tummy tuck thing, didn't know about that liposuction. Like, I would have never thought that hurt. I mean, I know literally nothing about liposuction.
Yeah.
So, of the 3, liposuction, tummy tuck, C-section, which one's the most painful?
Lipo. Lipo is the worst thing you'll ever do in your entire life, and I hope you never have to do it.
But you're sucking fat and moving it somewhere.
No, you just suck it out.
Oh, and that hurts really bad.
Oh, it's the worst thing. That it literally feels like, I think that I told her I was going to die.
Is it just, does the pain come from one area, or does it like engulf
No, it's everywhere. Because I did lipo 360, so this was in 2016. I mean, they took it from everywhere. My back, my chin, which I might get that done again. My arms.
I might go back.
It's the worst pain, and I'm going to do it again.
Well, it's hard being in the public eye, and then you, like, nothing is good enough. Oh. You know what I mean? And, like, also I want to look good in a bathing suit. So, we'll see.
How would you describe the pain?
Literal death.
What? Like,
you can't move. You literally, I could not even, Kristen was there. She took care of me. And it was truly, imagine getting hit by a truck and surviving.
You're awake during it.
No.
Oh.
I was asleep.
It's just when you woke up, you were in so much pain.
Oh my God, it was awful. Yeah.
Got it. Why can't they drug you though when you're awake? Why can't they
I'm drugged. Not now.
And it still hurts so much.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so bad. I remember throwing up, like, nauseous because of the pain meds. And I try to avoid pain meds at all costs just because of my mom. So I would try to only take them, like, if I really, really needed them. Even though I had, like, the prescription, I would, like, skip a dose so that I could just, like, I don't know. I don't have an addictive personality, but I do also fear it because of my mom. So I was, like, also trying to, like, space it out. And I don't recommend that. Like, if you're getting cosmetic, get ahead of it and just, honestly.
It's funny you say that because that was Abby. She was trying to avoid her pain meds after getting a C-section. I was like, please take the pain medicine. You're in pain.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? And you were still in pain?
Oh, yeah. Because I feel like if I were to do another C-section, I would take the pain meds the whole time, like, that you can, because you've been through enough. You're not sleeping. Like, you're not. And then I was so emotional, and then I was also in pain, so everything was amplified.
Yeah, and you wanted to feed our baby, and I was like, hey, it's not a big deal.
What was nursing like after the C-section?
It was painful, yeah.
Okay, because I had the C-section with the twins, I opted to not try to nurse because it was just so much for me, and I had a 1-year-old, so I was like, I just can't.
Oh, yeah.
So they were also 5 weeks early, so I was like, what is that going to be like? So did he latch okay? Like, it was all fine?
Both my babies were not, like, the greatest latchers. Okay. He was definitely worse. But the main problem is that the day after, so, like, he's 1 day old, I'm 1 day post C-section, I had a more, I would say, holistic maybe is the word we're using, lactation consultant come in. She was like, just set him on your stomach and let him find where he needs to go. And we did. And I had, like, a gaping open wound, and he literally, it felt like he put his little foot in it. It hurt, like, searing pain. Yeah. It was really dangerous too, because, like, my reaction is, like, in so much pain, I, like, move forward. He was fine, obviously. It wasn't anything dramatic, but, like, that was, like, a very scarring moment, because I was, like, not taking the pain medication, and I was so fresh, and his little foot, like, I had staples too, and it was like,
staples? Why? Yeah. Did they say why?
My doctor just does that.
Okay.
It's not common anymore.
I
would not recommend it. I don't think
They just did stitches for me, but I don't remember getting the option. But I feel like anything that I knew about C-section prior to having one was staples.
Yeah, I think it's a more old-fashioned way of, like, my doctor is kind of old, like, old school. Yeah. But it's crazy because it's literally like a staple gun, like, from what I understand, just with medical, like.
Were you out of it when you got them?
No, I could hear it. It was like,
see, that would give me more anxiety than actually feeling them. I think the sounds, like when you go to the dentist. Do you ever,
I don't like those sounds. No,
can't do it.
No, I think there was a weird thing going on. I was, like, oddly chill the whole C-section. I think I was on some type of medication.
Abby gets her fear of pain medicine from her dad because her dad elected to do his wisdom teeth surgery
fully
removal.
Awake.
No.
Fully awake. So it's just like his head is just going, like, you know,
He's
all
like,
the
the
drills
sounds
and
were
stuff
the
are going.
No, they're horrible. I used to work in dental assisting, and so we
You're
would,
like, I've done everything.
no, we had teeth like crumble in our. Oh no, I can't. The sounds, the smells, I can't do it.
Oh, ew, smells. So do you think, like, you've been very open about, like...
Everything?
Yeah, everything. But especially, I feel like a lot of people are scared to be open about, like, cosmetic surgeries and procedures. Is your motivation, like, what makes you, comfortable with being so open about those things post having babies?
Because I don't think people are. People don't want to talk about it, but, like, why not? I'm not judging anyone who gets plastic surgery. When I got plastic surgery, I think it was 2016... I like did the show The Doctors. You guys remember that show? It was like a daytime TV situation.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm never getting plastic surgery again because I was shamed for getting it.
No.
And then years went by, I didn't get plastic surgery. And I was like, you know what? Like, I actually regret saying that. Like, I like went on national television, was like, this is my biggest regret. And I feel like I was pressured into saying that. Like, it was like people were shaming me for it. And so now I'm 32 and I'm like, if I'm getting a procedure done and there's something I don't like about myself, again, it's not for everybody, but I feel like I'm so open-minded about everything. Like, someone could be, you know, a religion that I have know nothing about. I don't care. Like, whatever you want to do for you and your family and your choice and your body is on you. And like, I'm happy if you're happy. So like, I would hope that other people would feel that way too. So I just talk about everything. I got my teeth done. I've had my body done. I want my boobs done. Like, I'll talk about it all. I don't care.
Thank you to Green Chef for sponsoring this portion of today's episode. Don't let the back to school season set back your nutrition. Green Chef is making it easy to stick to your healthy eating habits with a new, more flexible menu featuring over 35 customizable recipe options every week, which is great. I've actually already scheduled our Green Chef delivery to arrive right after we get back from vacation because we're about to leave, and I absolutely hate coming home from a trip or when we've been gone for even just a day or two and you're like, I don't know what in my fridge is safe to eat. I don't even know how I can arrange these ingredients into one cohesive meal for my family. And that's why it's nice to have a service like Green Chef because all the ingredients come right to your door. They're really, really quick. Actually, each week you will find over 15 recipes that are ready in 25 minutes or less. So you'll have the power to tailor the menu to your needs, satisfying and nourishing everyone in your family in about 30 minutes, which I mean, you really cannot beat, especially because it's a home-cooked meal, but one that you don't have to think about. Take your clean routine further with 2 times the support, Green Chef's healthiest menu ever, and access to thousands of top-rated gyms and fitness studios worldwide from ClassPass. For a limited time, new Green Chef subscribers will also receive 50 free credits to use at ClassPass, about a month's worth of membership. So that's great. Get your healthy nutrition in, get a little group fitness in, which is my absolute favorite. It makes nutrition and fitness so much easier. Go to greenchef.com/unplannedclass for 50% off your first box and 50 free credits with ClassPass. That's code unplannedclass at greenchef.com/unplannedclass to get 50% off your first box and 50 free ClassPass credits. The #1 meal kit for eating well.
Why do you think people are so uptight about that subject of plastic surgery?
I don't know, because it's such a weird place to be, because on social media everyone wants to show all their highlights and do all these things and portray like this perfect life, but then I think that also pressures them to get plastic surgery, but then they want to hide it, and then when people recognize that maybe they look different, I don't know. I really don't.
Do you think that being in the public eye, like kind of like you mentioned, made you dislike certain things about your body more?
Oh, for sure. I think that I could have been happy with my body the way it was if it wasn't for social media and being in the public eye, for sure. But with that being said, I think that there are caveats, I guess, of like, I don't want to give up my life in the public eye either. I would like to be a little bit less in the public eye, which is why, part of the reason why I removed myself from TV, but I love social media and I love, podcasting and things like that. And so I think there is authenticity in owning the things that I'm going to do or that I want to do.
It must be nice too to now fully control the narrative that you're putting out rather than some other producer being the one who decides what gets shown to the masses. You get to have a say in that with all of your podcasts and all of your social media accounts.
100%. And I think that goes for like the plastic surgery thing too. Like, I can talk about it at my own free will and disclose what I want and not disclose what, you know what I mean?
Do you have any regrets, or on the flip side, like as far as plastic surgery goes, or on the flip side, do you have anything that you're like, man, I'm really glad that I got this done or something?
I'm happy with all my procedures. I don't even have regrets at this point. I'm just, I wish I got my boobs done when I got the rest of my body done, because maybe I wouldn't be trying to go again. You know what I mean? If I just got it all done at once, then it would have been fine. I don't know.
Like with your tummy tuck?
Yeah.
Wow. That seems like such a big
And that
surgery. You're like, yeah, that's a lot. I had a double hernia repair, and that made me not want to have it anymore.
From the pregnancies?
From my first.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's crazy.
So my son has like what looks like the start of one, like a hernia. And they were like, oh, if it doesn't resolve itself within X amount of time, like we would do something. But sometimes they resolve themselves. Do the pregnancy ones not resolve themselves? Or
I don't think they thought this one was going to resolve itself. It was really after like pushing so hard with my first, like, I think that's what made I had an umbilical one, which I'm assuming I had probably just micro since I was born. But then through pregnancy and birth, like it was visible.
Like it exacerbated the, okay.
Yeah. Cause I didn't even know about it before. And then it was like, okay, what's wrong with my belly? Like, what is that? And so my doctor at my 6-week postpartum appointment, she's like, you have a hernia, you need surgery. And I was like,
just matter of fact, like,
that's how she is.
Shot it straight.
And then she's like, and then when I went to the surgeon, he's like, in fact, you have two. Like, there was one on the side that's called a ventral one, I believe. Anyway, that surgery was like really painful. And so now I'm like, I can't imagine getting a tummy tuck. Like anything with my abdomen, I'm like, no.
Was that the deciding factor for the C-section the second time?
No, really, but it probably could all be slightly related. Okay. I am not a doctor, but with our first, we had a shoulder dystocia where his shoulders got stuck. So I was advised, there's a lot of opinions on this, but like my doctor did advise me to have a C-section with the second if he was measuring any bigger. And so he was bigger. And so then we're like, we'll just do a scheduled C-section.
Yeah.
I'm sure people after shoulder dystocia go back and have a great vaginal delivery. But for me, I was like, I didn't want to risk it.
Yeah, no, I completely understand
that. And so that's what happened. But I was like, I've had a lot of surgeries on my abdomen the past 2 years. I'm like,
do you still have feeling in your stomach? Like,
I do.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder why mine, I don't. Like.
Wait, like up here?
Under my belly button to like my bikini line, I have no feeling.
None at all.
No. Like if they cut me open, I would not feel it. I never felt my C-section.
I will say it does feel weird on it, but it doesn't feel like I can feel things.
That's so interesting.
That's so wild. Honestly, I wouldn't mind losing feeling. I mean, why do you need feeling there?
I'm like, if only belly button, if like belly button piercings were still in, or are they in? I could get my belly button pierced and not feel it.
You're like, yeah, don't numb me. It's my special skill.
I have superpowers now.
I know, because sometimes my son does kick it, and I'm like, I feel it.
Yeah, we have to be careful. Like, we can't touch that. Like, whenever I accidentally touch your incision wound,
really?
Like, yeah, it's tender.
How interesting.
Yeah. I know. I feel like people tell me to like massage it.
Really?
She's like, I don't have feeling.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Like, I don't have any.
Maybe the nerve endings are just
it had to be. Also, one of my pigs has a hernia, so I wonder what that'll be like for the
You've got a pig?
You got pigs?
I have 3 pigs, 12 chickens, 2 ducks, and 4 goats.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And also other like in the house.
You really got to stay in Delaware, girl.
Yeah. Well, we just bought 20 acres, so I want to build like an actual barn. I don't have a barn right now. We have like the little lean-to shelters for them, but I love Delaware.
Gosh, if I have literally any random thing that comes up in my life, I feel like I just need to reach out to you. There's a chance you know something about it.
100%. We'll figure it out together.
So I'm thinking about getting some pigs. Like, which one should I buy?
Your pig has a hernia?
Yeah, they gave it to us for free because he had a hernia. Like, so what? He doesn't matter?
Pigs and people with hernias matter too.
Like, what is going on? So yeah, we got them like last week or something, and I didn't meet them because I was in New York, so I've only spent like a day with them, but I'm really excited about it.
Is the plan to turn your pigs into bacon?
No.
Oh Matt, how dare you, honestly?
I don't know.
That's like the number one question, but it's like, and really, what is the purpose of farm animals if you're not going to eat them? But like, I love them. Especially my chickens.
They're just fun pets.
Yeah, and you know what? We get eggs from the chickens, and the goats are just funny. I literally said on the way out when I was coming here to Elijah, I said, please make sure you take care of my chickens and the kids. And he goes, your chickens are before your kids? And I was like, well, no, but like nobody takes care of them the way I do. You know what I mean?
You're like,
and they're just chickens, but I love them.
But our friends have goats, and they're like very ornery.
Oh, like, yeah. They're so ornery and they're so funny. Like, they're just so fun. Would you ever, like, have property and, like, do you have property and, like, goats and stuff? No.
We don't have it. I don't know. I feel like.
Not for you.
I can't picture us with that.
Me
even
neither.
though it's a great idea. Like, I feel like everyone's like, I don't know, you get fed up with life. You're like, I'm just going to get a farm and I'm going to just talk to animals instead of people.
Yeah.
But I feel like I have that impulse every once in a while, but I just realistically, I'm like, I don't think it's in the cards for me.
That's fine.
We had that phase. I mean, we even stayed at my uncle's house in the middle of nowhere for like a week, and we took care of his chickens
animals.
And his dogs, and it was fun. But yeah, I think for us,
I think a week was enough for us.
Yeah.
I love that for you guys.
I think it was enough. We don't even have a dog. So I feel like for us, like that feels like a bigger commitment than having another kid.
No, truthfully, I will give you insight from my chaotic life is that the dogs are harder than the children.
Really?
Because they don't, when you're potty training especially, they don't poop in a diaper. They poop on your floor. And so I'm done with the inside animals. I will not have those anymore after the ones.
Crazy.
Yeah, we're done with that. But outside animals, they're fine.
You know, we've been looking at houses recently, and when you walk into a house where they have dogs, you can just smell it.
Oh,
like
100%.
You just know, and it kind of, which I'm sure, like, yeah, people that have dogs, they love their dogs, they don't care. But when you don't have a dog and then you are touring houses and you can smell the smell, it kind of makes you realize maybe I don't want to put up with that.
1000%. I literally said when I sell my house, because the way we can't just like show our house, sell it, and then move. We have to build the house and then move into it and then sell the house, because you can't pick up 7 kids and a dog, like the dogs and the cats and everybody else. I literally said we will have to change all of the flooring before we even list it, because even though I don't think it smells like when you walk into a pet store, but there is a smell. And like, if I'm going to list my house for what it's worth, they don't want to walk into a house that smells like animals. They just don't.
That's smart,
Matt,
too.
you're going to eat your words. People are going to clip this and be like,
Oh,
we're
you're
going to get a dog someday. I know it's down the line.
No, like 5 years from now when we have our
We'll change
dog.
our mind on literally everything.
We will.
And so
Yeah.
just know that. Listening to this, we'll change our mind a million times. But, because we're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But,
I know.
not on social media.
Oh, yeah.
You're not allowed.
Once you
it's
say
in
it out
stone.
loud, then you can never go back.
Correct.
Ever.
It's
I
concrete.
was just thinking though, like a lot of people told us, like when because we were like the first, as I'm sure you obviously more so, the first of our friends have kids are like, oh, but we have a dog and like we know. And I think now I'm like, that kind of sometimes bugs me. I'm like, let me know when you're nursing your dog at 1 a.m. like how similar it is.
They said that their dog.
Well, it's a common thing for people like, well, yeah, we don't have kids, but like we have a dog, so we know like what it's like. And I'm like,
You're gonna drop your kid off at like the boarding place so
You're
that you
gonna
can go on
board your
vacation.
kid?
Yeah, you're gonna board your kid to go on vacation. Let me know how that works out.
I'm like, it's not quite the same. And I don't think they mean it, but I think that a lot of those people that say that probably down the line are like, yeah, it was totally a lot more to have a baby.
Also, I think our newborns are just extremely needy because, I think because we had kids that were colic. And,
no, just Augie.
Oh, well, I mean, both of them. So I don't know. I mean, like we have friends, like one of our friends, their baby will just like be playing and just like fall asleep on the floor because they do that. And I'm like,
I love that for them.
Are your babies chill?
Would never be that chill.
I had one that was just screamed from birth until probably now when he turned 4. So yeah, no, I've experienced all ends of the spectrum as far as that goes. But I completely like I see one of my twins is very chill. Like he's just so chill. I wish all the kids were like that.
Our youngest is either like so happy and it's so cute because he just like laughs at everything and he just smiles at you and it's just like the best. Or he's the complete opposite and will just like cannot stop crying.
Blood curling
like a Sour Patch Kid. That's what I call my kids.
But it's like my ear will ring. I'm like, do I need to go get my ears checked? Like this is pretty loud. Like I felt bad on the airplane on our way back from Nashville a couple weeks ago because I'm like we might have caused some hearing losses for these passengers on the plane.
My hearing's adjusted, but other people's probably haven't.
Well, that's your excuse to fly private. Like, let me get a jet this time.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, well, neither have I, but it sounds good.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I think he'll grow out of it eventually.
Oh yeah, I mean,
he is
if he's
one
not like
now.
Creed, my son Creed is. I mean, I'm like, what is going on, dude? Like, what's happening?
Okay,
no, but you get desensitized to it because other people hear his scream. They're like, oh my gosh, is it his ears? Do they hurt? I'm like, no, he does this.
This is
like,
just him.
This, and when he's full rested, just randomly got agitated.
Getting a tummy tuck though, was that the moment where you're like, okay, I think I'm done having kids? Like,
for sure.
Like for real.
That was 5 babies ago.
Yeah.
After 2, you're like,
well, because okay, so here's the thing. I had what do they call it? Secondary infertility. And so I had I had 2 boys. and I had multiple miscarriages after my second. So I was like, okay, I went to a doctor who was similar to like how yours is, very like shoot it straight. And I appreciate that. And so he was basically like, Kail, there are 40-year-olds trying to get pregnant for the first time. Like, be blessed where you're at with 2 boys. They're healthy and they're, thriving and all of the things. And so I kind of committed to that. I was like, okay, like I'm not going to have any more kids. I had told my ex-husband, which we were on the verge of divorce, I didn't want any more kids. Like, I'm good. So I went and got the surgery. So I thought, okay, I'll be done. And that didn't work out. So
then you had a surprise? Sort
of. Would you call that a surprise? I met my ex in college and had a miscarriage after the tummy tuck and all of the surgeries. And then it was like, okay, that should have been like, okay, I just got this surgery. Like, we weren't planning on doing this anyway. Like, that wasn't part of the plan. And then I think a couple months later, I ended up getting pregnant with my 3rd son.
Were you just shook because you thought there was no way?
Yeah, it was just like, I didn't go through all of this to like then go through all of this. And then it turned into, well, I'm going to miscarry this one anyway. Because at that point, I think I had 2 or 3 miscarriages. And so I was just like constantly checking for like blood and like trying to, I thought that I was going to miscarry again, which I didn't. And then how did I have 3 more after him? I don't know.
How did you cope? That's not easy.
That was rough. That one was really rough. And also the relationship in itself was just like very tumultuous and volatile and all of the things. So I think I thought I was in a good place because I had just gotten divorced and I was kind of, and I hope that you guys never have to go through this, but I did feel liberating in some ways because I was like, I'm ending this chapter of this life and I'm going to start a new one and I'm going to be doing all these things. And I thought that I was in a good place, but then I ended up not making great decisions. And so I think, not that my kids weren't great decisions, because I love my children to death, but it was a lot. There was a lot going on. I think I was still sort of emotionally and maybe like stunted my maturity was stunted. So I still wasn't like making good choices.
Do you have any frustrations or anger towards this feeling of, man, I missed out on a childhood. I missed out on the college experience or just getting to be like a teenager and going to parties and like enjoying my younger years. Like, do you feel
dating without children, things like that?
Sometimes. And I think too, that's why I like try to have those conversations with my kids, especially about like sex and stuff and just like having open dialogue about everything, because I want them to live that. I don't want them to have to worry about babies and sex and like girls and things. I don't want that for them. So sometimes I'm okay and I'm like, I love the way that my life is and how it turned out and everything, all of the things that I went through to get here. And then other times I have moments where I'm like, oh wow, like I wish that I got to live on campus with all my friends and like do that whole thing. And like, I know college isn't for everyone, but like when my son finally found something that he's super passionate about and like you do need a degree for, I was like inside, I was like really excited because I'm like, he's going to get to live on campus and like do all of these things and experience. And if it ends up not being for him, okay, but at least he got to live the experience and decide for himself, where like abortion and adoption were not options for me when I got pregnant with Isaac. So, you know what I mean? It all, I think, comes full circle. And I think I'll find happiness for them, you know what I mean? Even though I didn't get to do it, I'll find happiness in watching them do it,
That's beautiful.
What would you say to a 16-year-old girl listening to this right now who is pregnant or has a friend that's pregnant right now and doesn't know what to do?
Always keep your education at the forefront. Never stop investing in yourself, no matter how much is stacked against you. Like, don't stop investing in yourself, because you still need yourself to kind of push through for yourself and your child. I think that was something that I never lost sight of. Like, I never was like, okay, I'm just going to give up on myself. And like, I still needed to get an education. I still needed to go to college. Even though it was in a non-traditional way, I think that was kind of, it gave me something to look forward to and work towards, even though I had this like little life. So I think just whether it's school or a trade school, Votech, whatever, like invest in yourself, I think would be my biggest advice.
That was so inspiring, seeing the clip of you carrying Isaac in a baby carrier to orientation and like going all around. Like, how was that received by like your classmates and your professors? So
I originally went to a community college after graduation. And I think that people were the cameras were already really weird. And then seeing a kid there, I think they were like, oh, wow. But then I don't know if they ever showed this, but when I went to the 4-year university that I ended up graduating from, I physically brought my kids to class. Like I would bring them to my night classes and they would sit. There was, in one of my classes, it was sort of like a studio and they had like this back room and my professor just let me like leave the kids in there and like they would color or they would like do whatever they were doing. And so, I think the first 1 or 2 classes, I think that class was like 2 or 3 days a week. I got a lot of questions, but it was sort of fulfilling to me in the way that like they respected what I was doing. And like, I'm still doing what you're doing. I have kids, but and I was pregnant with my 3rd at the time. And so they were like, what is going on? And so, but I actually ended up forming really, really good relationships with those classmates. And one of them even still worked for me up until last year.
Wow.
So I was able to graduate. I think we graduated the same year, like in May. I think some people might have graduated in December, but we graduated together and then he worked for one of my podcasts. Wow. So it was really cool to like hire someone that I went to class with.
That's really neat.
Yeah, it was cool.
It'd be cool to see more of those spaces be more kid friendly. So moms that don't have, someone that can watch the kids could still pursue.
Even if it would be like a daycare on campus or something. Yeah. Like I don't know what that would look like, but it would be cool because I think that not just teen parents, but just parents in general that would like to go back to school that don't maybe have affordable childcare. That would be really cool.
That's cool.
Maybe that's my next mission. Yeah. Is advocating for childcare on campuses.
Yeah. Or even it's so nice now with the internet, people could probably take classes online.
Yeah.
Like I was just thinking you could probably start studying to be a lawyer now with online classes.
I did talk to my attorney about that because he was like giving me advice and he did say that some of them you can take online. And it would have been better to take my LSAT during COVID. But whatever, we'll figure it out. I got to get Kristen through to get her bachelor's degree first, so that she could finish her undergrad and then we could go. But I got to do it with her, or else I don't know if I'll finish.
Study buddies.
So funny.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. Well, I'm very inspired by, first of all, your self-awareness. You are a very self-aware, resilient, strong, inspiring person.
Thank you.
I want to ask too, because this is an article popped up when I was doing some research on you.
I'm scared.
No, don't be scared. Don't be scared. But it was like something about how you wanted to have more kids, even though you had gotten your tubes tied.
Yeah.
So and this was an article from January. So I don't know is that true? Do you feel the same way?
So we both got fixed, for lack of better words. I had my tubes cut out and then he also had a vasectomy. And I think we both felt immediate regret because we were like,
oh no.
And they even said that on like the side effects of tubules. They were like, it's in the list. It's like, you may have regret. And I was like, oh, shoot. I didn't think I'd be one of the people that fell into that category because I thought like I was done.
Yeah.
And then I had this whole thing about like, Valley doesn't have a sister and like I never had a sister, and so it would be really cool to give her a sister specifically, and like we could go through IVF and just like have a girl. And then it was just like, I think it was like a pipe dream. And so not that I don't necessarily feel that way now, I just think that like if we added more, it might take away from the ones that we have. Does that make sense? And so like if we didn't get tubules and if he didn't get a vasectomy, like would we have had another? Maybe. It's possible. But then I was talking about fostering, and that's not an option because there's too many kids in our household. So like we're like disqualified from that.
Really? Okay.
But I mean, I would be open to like private adoption probably, like if someone needed, because we have the means and we have the resources and we have the house and we have all the things, and like I don't know, I would hate to see a child that is growing up in a situation like I grew up and not have anywhere to go. And like, so I would be open to that, I think.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Like I just, helping other people through the same stuff that I went through.
How do you go from I never want to have kids to now I have 7 kids and I want to keep having more kids?
Well, because I grew up an only child. I didn't even grow up with my cousins or anything. So I didn't have any, like, what I asked my mom one time where kids came from, and she told me you have to pray really hard. So I was like, okay, bet. And I prayed really hard and never got one. So I was like, 7 or 8 years had gone by. So I was like, okay, where do dogs come from? We have to pray really hard. So I prayed really hard and never got one. So I'm like, I'm doing all the things. So I'm like, I wanted a sibling so bad that I never wanted my son, when I had him, to grow up wanting a sibling. So then, you know what I mean? And then I met Elijah, and I didn't want to deprive him either because he grew up with a really big family. And so if he wanted kids, like I didn't want him to not be able to have his own. And so I think it all worked out truly.
And how do you make sure you're spending enough time with every kid? Because 7 is a lot to juggle. It is.
It's a lot. And there's so much research on like, parents they tap out at 4 and like the rest of them don't really get attention. But I make it such a point. Like I just brought my oldest son to South Carolina with me. The rest of them didn't come. And then like Lux and I are planning to have just like a mommy and me day. And then Creed, he's like my little tag along. He's my 4-year-old. So he comes everywhere with me now. And that's been fun. And then when the 4 older ones are with their dads, like this week they're with their dads, I have the 3 babies at home. So when I get home from this trip, like I'll just be with, Rio is my little farm kid. So he'll go down to the farm and do all of our farm chores and make sure like that's just us. And then the twins, obviously they have their own individual time because one of them's in PT. So like I'm able to kind of do like those appointments with just him. And then Valley is a force to be reckoned with. So I'm scared of her, but in all the best ways. She's just like into everything. So I really truly, and then my second son, he's in sports, like big into sports. So I typically for nighttime sports, I don't take the other kids. I like to just go with just him. Or if he has like a tournament or something, it might just be me. It won't be the rest of the kids depending on what we have going on. So like they all get individual time, like on a weekly basis, not just like here and there.
I love seeing your video with your oldest going to the Guts tour to go see Olivia Rodrigo. That looked so fun. And and then it popped up him like showing his purple Stanley that he got.
That was like a lottery, I guess, for that drop or something. And so I was like, everyone that I know like entered for him to like
for the Stanley.
Yeah,
is he obsessed with Olivia?
He loves her so much, but Billie Eilish more.
Really? Okay.
Which I'm also a fan, so I'm like, okay, cool.
You have good taste.
Yeah. So all of us entered this like Stanley thing for the Olivia thing. So because if I didn't get it, then someone else would get it and then they would just give it to him. So we got it and he was really excited.
That's so cool.
I wish that I could say that I went to 100 concerts when I was 14 years old, but I never did. And so he's going to all of them. He's been to Post Malone, Morgan Wallen, Olivia Rodrigo. We're going to Billie Eilish. So he's just living the dream.
That's so fun. Yeah. I want to get Abby out to more concerts because I love concerts. Yeah. I've been to like 2, but Abby's afraid of crowds. Like it kind of freaks her out. So we just have to be mindful of that whenever we're around a lot of people.
It's a lot of standing too, man. The last concert we were at, I was like, they don't have chairs.
Here's the catch. If you ever go to one that has like the box, then there's food and chairs.
Okay, that's the way I would like a concert.
It's just more fun that way, especially if you have kids. It's way better that way. And then you're and it's usually air conditioned.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, way better that way.
It seems like you really found like each kid's interest, at least where they're at right now, and like found a way to make that like special one-on-one bonding time with them, which is like really cool.
And do you think you would ever get married again?
Yeah. I mean, we wear rings because we're basically married. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. He owns the house in front of me. And so we just like have these like big responsibilities that I guess we're old enough to do now. And so we do all the things that married couples do. We just don't have the paper yet. And we filed it once and then we never went. So we'll see. But if he asked me to marry him one more time.
How many times has it been that he's asked you?
6 maybe.
And you've just said no every time.
No, I say yes, but then we don't make the time because we have 100 children.
And
a farm. And I'm here and I'm in New York after this. And so we just haven't found the time yet, but it's coming.
Do you think that a big difference will happen in your relationship if you're all of a sudden officially married?
So no, but yes. I'm like really big on like estate planning, wills, like all of that. And so like it would just change the dynamic of like my estate plan and like my will. Just like legal stuff. You know what I mean?
But not like interpersonally in your relationship. Would it change anything?
No. I mean, we treat each other, I call him my husband, especially to people I don't know because boyfriend sounds so immature. So I'm like, my husband. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think it would just be solidify what we already have.
Yeah.
And I love him. So I think that it would be great, but I don't know how we would plan a wedding at this moment.
You brought up estate plans, wills, I think maybe trusts. Like who taught you about all of this stuff? How did you learn it? Your friend. Yeah. Okay, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Because it's not like you had the parents to teach you about finances or how money works or any of that. You kind of just had to learn it on your own.
When I started Teen Mom and I started getting these like lump sums of money and I was just blowing it, like I'm talking nothing to show for it, blow it, didn't have any money left.
What did you spend it on? Like, was it a car? Was it
Absolutely not.
What?
No clue. no clue whatsoever. So it was gone. And then I was like, okay, this isn't good. This is not good. And then I got married the first time, and I think I owed like $30,000 in taxes. And at that time, it was like 2012. So I was like, oh my God, like, what am I going to do? I owe $30,000 in taxes. So it's like, I better get a good accountant. So then I got a good accountant. Kristen and I met around 2012, 2013. She became my best friend, and she had all this like wisdom and knowledge. So I was like, oh my God, I need help. And so she kind of got me involved in the right people. And then I was like, also, I'll pay you for your wisdom. And so then she started to work for me and got me, we have a financial advisor, a really good accounting firm. I have like a whole estate plan with trust. All the kids have trusts. And I still have a hard time like asking my financial advisor, like, should I do this before I do it? I usually do it. And then I'm like, hey, I did this. But outside of that, I feel like I'm in a good place right now. I never wanted to be back in a situation because I just got a credit card for the first time last year.
No way.
Yeah. So that was my first credit card, I guess 2 years ago. But that was my first credit card. I was so scared because I had owed $30,000 and I was terrified of ever putting myself in that position again. So now I just do everything through all the estate planning and all of that. And the kids have like their trust set up. But it's been a long learning process for sure. Because now I teach my son, he gets paid from social media. So I have to tell him, okay, go in, take your taxes out, because technically the taxes aren't there and taken out. And so he takes them out and then he splits between his different accounts. And every single time when I get the notification that he's an income coming through, I'm like, get on and do that whole thing. So I'm trying to teach him so he doesn't have to go into debt like I did.
Does he have a manager or anybody?
No. A momager.
A momager?
Yeah.
So do you negotiate for your son whenever
he
somebody wants
just
to work with him?
Got his very first brand deal last week. So that was our first one. And it's all at his discretion. Like, if he doesn't want to do it, I would never, ever, ever push him. But he came to me and was like, I really want to do this. And I was like, oh, okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's what every kid wants to be now,
Isn't that crazy?
Is an influencer.
Yeah. Well, his was like ASL based, so he's fluent in sign language. So he wanted to do it like for sign language. But then I don't think any of us thought that his his Instagram would pop off from that. But I think people were so fascinated, more so not by the ASL, but because he was a teen mom child.
That is cool.
But it worked in his benefit. So.
And now here you are, again, multiple podcasts. Are you going on tour, by the way? Is that something that's going to happen? I actually just got the email this morning for like all of our tour merch and like stuff that we're working on. And I have imposter syndrome so bad that I'm like, do you think I can sell out? Like, do you think I can sell tickets to come see? Like, I don't know. So I'm a little nervous.
Where all are you going?
I believe it.
So I'm going to do 4 dates in the fall, like this fall. And then depending on how ticket sales do, I was like, I can't commit to a full tour next. They want me to tour from February to May. But I said, I'm not going to commit to that until I see how these first 4 shows do, because like, I'm not going to embarrass myself. So we'll see from there. But I guess like February to May would be like the idea for next year.
So where are your first 4?
The first 4, right now we're looking at Dallas and San Antonio, and then 2 in Ohio and 1 in Philly.
Okay.
So those are the dates. Those are the cities.
Very
That's
cool.
Exciting.
Yeah, exciting. You guys should also go on tour.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, what do you think, Abby?
It's a no for now.
Immediately no for now.
Just like, I can't.
Are you also potentially going to write new books? Is that something that's going to happen sometime in the future?
Yeah, now that we're book girlies, I don't know if it's the age or what, but I definitely want to like also repackage like the books I already have, because they're really like just need new covers, need some little adjustments. Okay. And then I'd like to write a novel and not do like any more memoirs, because I think people have had enough. So I would like to write a novel. That would be cool.
Like a fiction?
Yeah. Maybe like a thriller, suspense deal. I don't know.
Is that your favorite genre?
Yeah, that and historical fiction. I'm a big...
I love historical fiction too.
I never thought that I would be a historical fiction girly. I never thought that.
And it feels more educational when I read history.
Well, that's what I was telling Kristen yesterday. I started reading By Any Other Name and by Jodi Picoult. And it's about like this woman, the first poet to ever be published in England. And it's like in the 1500s. And why am I so invested? I mean, there's pedophilia, there's cheating scandals, there's all kinds of things. And I'm like, why am I like, what was going on in the 1500s?
Crazy stuff.
It's insane. I love it. So anyway.
Do you recommend that one?
I would, yeah, if you like historical fiction, but if not, then no.
Did you read The Women?
I did. I read The Women and The Nightingale. Did you read that one?
Yeah.
So good.
What did you think of The Women? That's a new release, Matt, so people will care.
Ooh, okay.
He was supposed to cut out my book portions.
No, I didn't cut it.
Deleted scenes.
Our editor cut that out. I did it.
Okay, our editor cut it out.
Do you have a Patreon?
No.
We don't.
Put them on a Patreon. Don't edit them out and scrap them. You edit them out and put them on Patreon.
Abby's book corner behind the paywall.
Yes.
Wait, actually, you guys should let us know. Would you want us to do a Patreon or a YouTube like membership? Because we thought about it, but then we didn't know if you'd want it. But then also, if we did do it, there would be like absolutely no ads at all on the episodes. So you guys let us know in the comments, because we've thought about it, but we want to put you guys first, and we want to do what you want us to do. So
it's a yes from me.
I'm curious on your thoughts on the women, really quick.
Well, first of all, I was shocked by what was going on, right?
Yeah.
Between Vietnam and the US, but also I didn't realize what was going on with women during that time. Like I had no idea that was like women were not supposed to join the military or be like.
My grandma was in her 20s then. Like it was not that long ago.
My uncle served in Vietnam. Yeah. So I was just thinking about like his whole family, and I'm just thinking like, how did all of this go on? And it just flew under everyone's radar.
It was sad.
I did rate the book 5 stars though. Get on Goodreads, because you can rate the books and I'll give you a rundown before I leave.
Okay, thank you. I love Goodreads as a consumer, not as a poster. But I want to. I will.
Yeah,
I rate them on my Instagram. That's it. It's not officially on Goodreads.
I'm the number 2 most followed person on Goodreads. But
what?
Yeah. So you should get on it.
I should have known that.
Wait, that's awesome. Good for you.
There's like a whole chart, and like Frida McFadden, Colleen Hoover, like I think it's right now it's Frida, me, Colleen.
What?
Yeah.
You never cease to amaze me.
Is that how you got Colleen on your podcast? That's
Probably.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, Colleen is the sweetest. Did you see the movie yet?
Yes.
Abby just saw it.
You should go see it as well.
I shouldn't say this because you know Colleen. You're like buds, but I actually thought the movie was better than the book. Which I know is an unpopular opinion and kind of blasphemous to say, but I thought the movie was just so incredible.
It was so good.
Last but not least, are you potentially going to bring a new show to your podcast network? Is that something that's happening?
Am I allowed to say yes? I'll just say it. I don't care. Yeah. So I'm not bringing a show so yes, there's a new show launching on my network, but there's also a TV show that is in the works. Ooh. So there's 2 separate things.
So you're not done with reality TV?
Probably not.
No way.
We're just going to revamp it. We're going to reinvent the wheel a little bit.
No way.
How cool.
So yeah, but new show on Killer Network is launching in 2024, and I'm really excited. I think you guys should maybe have them on your podcast as well, and maybe you guys could do a swap. You guys can go on theirs. I don't know. Let me know. I'll tell you about who it is. Am I allowed to say who it is? No. Okay. I'll tell you guys after.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool.
That's exciting.
Well, we're so excited for
Thank you.
I'm so inspired by you coming from nothing and then just being so successful. I hope that's inspired other young women, young men out there listening to this right now. So
thank you.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out Kailyn or by the way, yeah, you go by Kale, right?
Kale, Kailyn, whatever.
Yeah,
it's all the same.
Haven't checked her out on social media? Go follow. Where can people follow you?
At Kailyn Lowry on everything: Goodreads, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere is Kailyn Lowry. And also my network is Killer Network on Instagram.
Well, thank you guys. And as always,
peace out, dudes.